The last time anyone in the small town of Riverton saw sunlight was the morning of the eclipse. The event had been hyped up for months, and on that fateful day, the entire town gathered in the park, their eyes shielded by special glasses, their excitement palpable. As the moon began to creep across the face of the sun, a hush fell over the crowd. The sky darkened, and the air grew cooler. Children giggled nervously, while adults murmured in awe at the celestial dance above. But as the eclipse reached totality, an unsettling stillness settled over Riverton. It was then that the whispers began. At first they were faint, barely audible over the rustling leaves and distant bird calls. But as the seconds ticked by, the whispers grew louder, more insistent. People glanced around, uneasy, but no one could pinpoint the source. It was as if the whispers were coming from the very air around them. Then the temperature plummeted. In the sudden silence, a single figure appeared at the edge of the park. Tall and cloaked in shadow, the being was indistinct, its form shifting and undulating like smoke. Eyes glowing a sickly yellow pierced through the darkness, locking onto the crowd. Panic erupted. People screamed and fled, tripping over one another in their desperation to escape. The figure remained still, its gaze unwavering, its presence a silent promise of something far worse than death. For days after the eclipse, Riverton was gripped by fear. Those who had witnessed the figure described it in hushed tones, their eyes darting to the shadows as if expecting it to reappear. The whispers, now confined to their nightmares, left the townsfolk restless and paranoid. And then the disappearances began. First, it was a young couple who had been at the park that day. Their home was found empty, a cold breeze drifting through the open windows, and a thick layer of dust coating their belongings, as if they had been gone for years. Then, one by one, others who had been present at the eclipse vanished without a trace. No signs of struggle, no clues, just empty homes and cold, silent rooms. The town's once vibrant life dimmed, shops closed, and the streets grew desolate. Those who remained whispered of the unknown being, the shadowy figure that had marked them during the eclipse. It was said that the being was not of this world, a harbinger of darkness that fed on the fear and despair of those it had chosen. In a final, desperate attempt to rid themselves of the curse, the remaining townsfolk gathered at the park under a new moon, hoping to confront the entity and plead for their loved one's return. As they stood in the same spot where the eclipse had cast its shadow, the air grew cold once more, and the whispers returned, louder than ever. From the darkness, the figure emerged, its eyes glowing with malevolent delight. The townsfolk fell to their knees, their pleas for mercy swallowed by the night. The being raised a shadowy hand and a wave of darkness engulfed the park, silencing their cries. When the first light of dawn broke, Riverton was empty. Not a soul remained, and the town fell into ruin, a ghostly reminder of the day the eclipse brought something far more sinister than darkness. To this day, on the anniversary of the eclipse, strange whispers can be heard in Riverton, and those who dare to visit the abandoned town swear they feel unseen eyes watching, waiting, and hungering for the next eclipse.